No one talks about the table. We worry about our savings, our health, the rising bills. But rarely, if ever, do we stop and ask what energy lives right at the center of our home. The dining table, once a sacred space for connection and nourishment, has quietly become a dumping ground. Unopened mail, half-folded laundry, cold takeout boxes, and the echoes of financial stress. But here's what almost no one realizes. What sits on your table may be silently shaping your financial life more than your budget ever could. Wealthy homes, old and new, all share a quiet truth. They guard their tables like an altar, not for show, not for guests, but because they understand that the objects placed there carry frequency, and frequency is what invites or repels abundance. There is one simple item that rich households almost never remove, and chances are you're missing it. Not because you don't care, but because no one ever told you. They never told you how a cold, empty table becomes the energetic equivalent of a closed wallet, or how certain materials like cinnamon, bread, fruit, even a jar of black pepper can shift the emotional climate of a room and anchor wealth where it once leaked away. You don't need new furniture. You don't need to spend a dime. You need to ask one quiet question. Is your table inviting abundance or quietly pushing it away? Because the way your table looks right now says more about your prosperity than you think. And if your table is empty, cluttered, or lifeless, you may already be losing more than just your appetite. Part 1: the table that knows how to hold fortune. Most people think of the dining table as just a piece of furniture. A place to eat, maybe fold laundry, maybe sort through mail. But what if I told you that your table is actually a mirror of your household's financial energy? Not your bank account, not your job, the table. In homes where wealth stays, the table is never empty, never ignored, and never treated like an afterthought. It holds more than meals. It holds presence, ritual, and invitation. Think about it. When your table is covered in clutter or left cold and untouched for days, how does the room feel? Heavy, still, disconnected. That stillness isn't peace, it's stagnation. A lifeless table reflects a lifeless flow. It signals that nothing's coming in and nothing's being honored. On the other hand, a table that's cared for, even simply, with a clean surface and one meaningful item, sends a very different message. This home is awake, ready, and open to receive. Wealth doesn't arrive through numbers alone. It arrives through vibration, through spaces that say, there is life here. In every spiritual tradition, gathering to eat was never just about food. It was about aligning hearts and energies in one place at one time. That's why the table matters. Because it's not just where we eat, it's where we energetically declare what kind of life we're building. And if your table is silent, neglected, or only used to carry stress, it may be blocking the very abundance you've been trying to call in. Before you budget, hustle, or wish for better luck, pause and look at your table. Is it helping you hold what truly matters, or letting it slip away without a sound? Part 2: 5 simple things the wealthy always keep on their table. Number 1. Cinnamon tied with red string. Cinnamon is something we all recognize. A spice that lives in our kitchen, may be used in a holiday pie or sprinkled on a warm cup of coffee. But when it's tied with red string and placed at the center of your table, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a quiet trigger for momentum. A whisper to the energy of your home that says, we are ready to move forward. Red is the color of action, circulation, and courage. Cinnamon carries a deep, warming scent and a subtle heat. Together, they do more than decorate, they activate. In households where money flows easily, where decisions are made with clarity and timing, you'll often find that small things are never left to chance. Even something as simple as a stick of cinnamon has purpose. When tied with red string and placed with intention, it doesn't just sit, it speaks. It says, let the energy here stay warm, decisive, and in motion. It's perfect for tables where conversations often stall, where opportunities are missed, or where people seem stuck in old cycles. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't even need to believe in anything mystical. Just place it there, Centered, simple, respected. A single cinnamon stick tied in red can shift the feeling of a space the same way a kind word can shift the tone of a room. You might notice fewer arguments, sharper thinking, a new sense of purpose that lingers after dinner. It's not magic, it's attention. And when you give attention to your space starts to give back. If your table has felt dull, uninspired, or heavy lately, this is where you begin. Not with a full makeover, not with a purchase. With one stick of cinnamon and a thread of red, declaring, quietly but clearly, that movement is welcome here again. Number 2, a fruit basket with apples, bananas, oranges, and grapes. A fruit basket might seem ordinary, something your grandmother kept on the table without thinking twice. But not all fruit is created equal, and not all baskets carry the same kind of energy. When chosen with care and placed with intention, fruit becomes more than food. It becomes a living symbol of abundance that renews itself day by day. Apples, bananas, oranges, and grapes. Each one speaks to a different layer of prosperity, and together they create a complete cycle: grounding, growth, cleansing, and accumulation. Apples bring stability. A red apple offers protection and peace. A green apple invites clarity and calm. When life feels chaotic or finances feel unpredictable, apples quietly restore balance. You don't need to bite into them. Just their presence is enough. Bananas represent flow. They grow in clusters, always together, never alone. That's why they carry the energy of continuous income, multiple sources of wealth, and reliable support. If your finances feel stagnant or you've been depending on one uncertain source of income, bananas gently suggest, let's open the channel. Oranges, bright and fragrant, are the fruit of joy and breakthrough. Their scent lifts a room, and their color, deep, fire-toned orange, burns away heavy, stuck energy. They cleanse not just the air, but the emotional weight we sometimes carry around money. If there's been tension, pressure, or financial fatigue in your home, oranges help to clear the space and invite vitality back in. Then there are grapes. Royal, abundant, rich in meaning and memory. Grapes symbolize wealth that lasts, not a lucky windfall, but wealth that is built, preserved, and passed on. A cluster of grapes on your table isn't just decorative. It signals that this household believes in long-term prosperity. When these 4 fruits are placed together in a clean, intentional basket, they create a loop of energy. Not just coming in, but circulating, staying, nourishing. And here's one simple rule: never let the basket go empty. An empty fruit basket, even if unintentional, tells the space, there is lack here. That message, repeated daily in silence, becomes part of the home's frequency. You don't need perfection. You don't need expensive organic selections, just freshness, wholeness, and presence. A basket that's alive says, we are alive. This family believes in nourishment, not just survival. It says we expect good things and we make space for them. If your table feels cold, your kitchen quiet, or your energy tired, start here. A basket of fruit quietly glowing at the center of your home can speak louder than any financial plan. It tells the universe, we are ready to receive, and we know how to care for what comes in. Number 3, a small jar of black peppercorns. Some homes bring money in only to lose it again just as fast. The paychecks arrive, the opportunities appear, but somehow it never stays. There's always a leak, unseen, unexplained, and exhausting. If this feels familiar, black pepper may be exactly what your table needs. Not in a shaker, not sprinkled on food, but whole, dried peppercorns sealed in a small, clear jar placed quietly in the corner of your dining table like a sentinel. Black pepper is fire condensed into a seed. In ancient traditions, it was known not for flavor, but for its power to protect. It burns away what's harmful, emotionally, energetically, even financially. A jar of black peppercorns acts like an invisible wall. It doesn't attract money the way cinnamon might, but it keeps what you have from slipping through the cracks. If your family often says, we make enough, but it's like the money disappears, this may be your missing layer of energy protection. Financial energy doesn't just leave through bad spending. It can be drained by emotional tension, by unspoken fears, by a home that feels energetically unguarded. Black pepper doesn't need to be loud to be effective. Just 7 to 9 whole peppercorns in a clean, dry jar. Nothing fancy. No labels, tucked at the back corner of the table. Its job isn't to impress, it's to absorb what doesn't belong and shield what does. You might not see results overnight, but slowly, quietly, the shift begins. Less tension, fewer unexpected expenses, a greater sense of control, and a deeper sense of safety, not just financially, but emotionally. That's what black pepper gives you. It says to the space, this home is protected. This fortune stays here, and just like any protection, it needs to be renewed. Once a month. Replace the peppercorns. Do it without fanfare. It's not a performance, it's a promise. A way of saying, I care about what stays, not just what arrives. That care, that quiet attention, is what turns an ordinary object into a sacred shield. If your home feels financially leaky, if you earn but never seem to gain, don't just budget harder. Protect smarter. A tiny jar of black pepper on your table may not look like much, but it speaks volumes. It says we are no longer letting energy slip through silence. We are holding onto what we've earned. And we are doing it gently, intentionally, and with quiet strength. Number 4, bread wrapped in a clean white cloth. Bread has always meant more than food. In every tradition, across every generation, bread has stood for life, for enough, for peace at the table. It doesn't ask to be noticed, but it's always there when things are right. And when placed at the center of your dining table, wrapped in a clean white cloth, it becomes something sacred, a quiet reminder that what you have is already enough. Whole grain, fresh, even just a few slices. It doesn't need to be warm or homemade. What matters is presence. Bread carries grounding energy. It doesn't rush, it doesn't flicker like fire. It holds, it lasts. It tells your space, this home has foundation. This family knows how to preserve what matters. In households that feel scattered, anxious, or financially unstable, something subtle happens when bread returns to the table. The air settles, the center holds. The conversation shifts from lack to gratitude, from survival to sustainability. You don't even have to say anything. You just place it there, lined with a white cloth, not for display, but for respect. The white cloth is essential. It signals care. It creates a sense of protection, like a roof over your blessings. It doesn't need to be perfect, just clean. Even one folded napkin, thoughtfully laid, can transform a few pieces of bread into a statement. We're not reaching from emptiness. We are holding on to what's already good. But there's one rule, one that must never be broken. Don't leave the bread basket empty. An empty basket tells your home something dangerous, that there's nothing left, that what once was no longer is. And if that message sits on your table day after day, it becomes a quiet echo of lack that spreads without you noticing. So even if no one plans to eat it, keep one small piece of bread there. Replace it regularly. Let it speak, we are not without. If your financial life has felt shaky, if your days feel like you're running without arriving, start by anchoring the table. Don't just decorate it, ground it. Bread doesn't chase money, it holds wealth in place. It creates enoughness, not flash, not hunger, just quiet, sustainable plenty. You don't need expensive symbols to shift your energy. Sometimes all it takes is the most basic food in the world, honored with the gentleness it deserves. Bread wrapped in white, set down slowly, held with grace. That one act can remind your home and your heart. We are safe, we are provided for, and what we have is already worthy of protection. Number 5, a vase of fresh flowers. Fresh flowers don't just brighten a room, they shift its energy. Quietly, effortlessly, they remind us that life is still growing, that beauty still arrives even without permission. And when placed on your dining table, flowers become more than decoration. They become a signal to the unseen. This home is alive and ready to receive. Unlike fruit or bread, flowers aren't essential for nourishment. That's what makes them powerful. They represent more than survival. They represent overflow. A flower says we have enough to notice the beautiful, enough to honor the delicate, enough to welcome grace. But not all flowers speak the same language. Yellow flowers lift the energy of a home. They say, "Let's move, let's grow, let's break through." They are for households starting over, launching something new, or reaching for a second chance. Red flowers bring courage, momentum, and passion. They belong on tables where bold decisions are being made, contracts signed, new steps taken, old stories rewritten. Purple or blue flowers hold a deeper, quieter frequency. They speak of legacy, long-term vision, and wealth that doesn't rush. And white flowers, they cleanse. They clear the emotional fog, soften stress around money, and make space for the next good thing to arrive. But here's the truth. A wilted flower can do more harm than good. A vase of drooping stems and browning petals is a whisper of decline. It says, "We've given up. We're holding on to what has already passed." If you choose to place flowers on your table, they must be cared for. Trim the stems, change the water, replace them when their time is done. It's not just about appearance, it's about what your table is silently saying each day. A vase of fresh flowers is one of the simplest ways to raise the vibration of your home. It's a soft but firm invitation for prosperity to enter, not through effort but through elegance. You don't need exotic blooms. Grocery store daisies will do if chosen with care and placed with presence. Flowers remind your space and your spirit that receiving is an art, that beauty belongs in everyday life, not just in special moments, that you don't have to wait until things are perfect to celebrate what is good. If your home has felt flat, tired, or dim, try this: clear the table, place one vase, choose one color that reflects how you want to feel, and let the flowers speak for you. They'll say what you might forget to say yourself. We are still blooming, even now. Part 3: 3 habits that quietly kill the table's energy we don't always notice when a room starts to lose its energy. There's no alarm, no flash of light, just a slow, quiet shift. The table doesn't sparkle like it used to. Meals feel rushed, conversations feel dry, and without realizing it, the heart of the home, the dining table, begins to wither. What used to hold warmth and connection now carries tension, clutter, or simply silence. And slowly, this begins to touch everything else. How you feel in the morning, how money moves through the home, how peace settles, or doesn't, at the end of the day. There are 3 small habits that quietly shut down the energy of a table. Not dramatic, not loud, but devastating over time, and most families fall into them without knowing. Habit 1: turning the dining table into a place to talk about money problems, bills, or fear. It starts innocently. The table is where everyone gathers, so it becomes convenient. You open your laptop, spread out the bills, and start discussing what's due, what's overdue, what's missing. But here's the unseen damage. Every time you associate that table with stress, with anxiety, with phrases like "we can't afford this" or "this bill is going to ruin us," you stamp that energy into the surface of the home's most receptive space. The table absorbs it, and that energy lingers. What should be a space of calm turns into a trigger for worry. Over time, your subconscious links eating, gathering, and home life with a sense of lack, and that frequency doesn't attract abundance. It repels it. You don't need to avoid real conversations about money, but the table isn't the place for them. Designate a separate area. Keep the table for nourishment, both physical and emotional. Habit 2: bringing arguments, blame, or tension to the table. We've all done it. Bit back a sharp word during dinner, sighed in frustration between bites, let silence stretch too long. But when the table becomes the place where emotions erupt, where disappointments are voiced, and where dinner becomes just another battlefield, the energy takes a hit. Meals should be sacred, even simple ones, because it's not about the food, it's about what the energy of the meal creates. If your table regularly holds anger or disconnection, it stops becoming a place of receiving. It becomes a place of repelling. This doesn't mean every meal must be perfect or joyful. Life is complex, but it does mean making a quiet commitment. We protect this space. We save the hard conversations for later. We eat in peace, even if it's quiet peace. That boundary honored consistently can shift the emotional temperature of a home more than any renovation ever could. Habit 3: leaving the dining table empty or covered in unrelated clutter. A table without life sends one message: there is nothing here. No presence, no invitation. A table buried under paper, boxes, or the remnants of daily chaos doesn't just look messy, it feels like abandonment. It signals to the house and to yourself that the center has been lost. The energy of a room begins where the eye lands, and if what it sees is disorganization, neglect, or disuse, the spirit of the home begins to match. On the other hand, just a small effort, one fresh flower, a clean cloth, a bowl of fruit, can bring the table back to life. It's not about money, it's about attention. Energy responds to what is noticed, and nothing is more magnetic than a space that says, "I am cared for." These habits don't require dramatic events. They don't need shouting or destruction. They only need repetition. 100 small moments that tell the table, "You don't matter." But the truth is, the table holds the tone of the home, and when it's honored, even simply, even quietly, it gives that tone back, stronger and deeper than before. So before you add more to your to-do list, pause and ask, what does my table feel like right now? Not what it looks like, what it feels like. Is it warm, clear, alive, or is it heavy, cold, forgot? The answer may not be easy, but it will always be honest. And from that honesty, real change begins. Not in your budget, not in your calendar, but right in the center of the room where presence is placed or withdrawn. Final in the end, a table is just wood, just shape, just surface, until you give it meaning. Then it becomes something else entirely. It becomes the center of a quiet frequency, one that either welcomes life in or slowly lets it drift away. Every item you place there, every word you speak around it, every silence you allow, it all becomes part of the energy your home carries. And energy is not some abstract idea. It's felt in the way you breathe when you walk into a room. It's in the tone of your conversations. It's in how easily or how uneasily resources move through your life. If your table is cold, if it's cluttered, if it's filled with tension, that's not a reflection of failure. It's an invitation, an opportunity to recenter, to start again not with big gestures, but with small, sacred choices. A stick of cinnamon, a piece of bread, a bowl of fruit, a jar of pepper, a single flower. These aren't decorations, they are declarations. They say this home is alive, this space matters. We care for what enters and we protect what stays. Your home doesn't need to be perfect, your life doesn't need to be fixed, but your table, it can be your beginning. The still point around which everything else gently, gradually realigns. So tonight, before you clear the dishes or turn off the light, pause for a moment. Look at your table, not for what's on it, but for what it reflects back to you. Ask yourself, not with judgment, but with tenderness, does this feel like a place where abundance would want to stay? Because if you can shift the energy here, you can shift it anywhere.